So I have some pretty pathetic news about freedom of speech on social media to talk about, namely, in this instance, Twitter. Twitter will test reply-limiting feature to beat back trolls. Now, okay, you could look at that headline and go, well, that's not necessarily a bad thing. Nobody likes trolls. Trolls are annoying. So if they give people more freedom to deal with their trolls, I mean, what's the harm in that? Well, let me give you more specifics, and then you might change your mind on that. So the article says the following, quote, Twitter users will be able to choose who can reply to their tweets from a list of options that include everyone, only your followers, only people who are mentioned in the tweet, or nobody. And if the account is public, the tweet will still be visible to everyone on Twitter, but only the selected audience will be able to reply. Now, the only loophole here is you can still quote tweet it. Now, why they allow that, I think, is because if you quote tweet it, it won't necessarily show up in your mentions, in your replies. So, somebody can troll you and quote tweet it, but you don't necessarily see it. And so I guess they think it's okay if you don't see it. They're just trying to stop you from being able to see it. However, the whole plan here, the whole motivating force behind this, very simply is a bunch of insecure blue checkmark elitists were sick of getting dunked on and ratioed by everybody else on Twitter. So for those of you who are not in the Twitter world, and you don't know what a ratio is, it's an interesting concept. Basically, a ratio is when if somebody says something stupid, there will be way more responses to that tweet of people dunking on that person than there would be retweets. So if your tweet gets retweeted a lot, that means it was a good tweet. People liked it. So when the replies far outnumber the retweets, that means you probably said something really dumb, and everybody's like, hey, this is stupid. Don't say some dumb stuff like this. So the ratio is basically, it's like a law of Twitter physics. And it's actually a beautiful thing because it shows almost like the self-correcting nature of social media, where you can't have any more. Like back in the lead up to the Iraq war, people in mainstream media could say whatever they wanted and they get away with it. Now, with the situation in Iran unfolding, when anybody says something stupid or does CIA propaganda or Pentagon propaganda, you got a whole army of people, a swarm of people to respond to these mainstream media idiots who are doing the bidding of the deep state and trying to get us into war with Iran to say, wrong, wrong, wrong. And also, trying to make a presidential candidate seem like they're better than they are, propaganda about them. You'll have Twitter people will respond to that and be like, shut up, like, what are you doing? It's just, it allows for it's a radical experiment in democracy, Twitter is, because everybody has a voice. And when you give everybody a voice, in most instances, I think the wisdom of the crowds kind of wins out. Now, that's not to say every time the crowds are right. I think there is a problem with PC outrage where, people are very unforgiving of old jokes or something somebody might say is politically incorrect, and they love to, attack. So that's not saying the crowd is always right. Sometimes it borders on mob justice or lack of justice. But I think in most instances, at least when it comes to politics, at least when it comes to whether it's mainstream media figures, corporate Democrats, establishment Republicans, the administration, there really is this sense of we're going to avenge, maybe that's not the right way of describing it. We are going to correct the record come hell or high water, and you're going to see a lot of these people get ratioed, a lot of these people get responded to, and they say dumb stuff. So this is insecure blue check elitists who were like, I want to be able to hide it when people don't agree with me and they want to say I'm wrong about something. That's what I want to do. Jack, fix that. And so now they have this option. Now, thankfully, it's not definitely going into effect yet. It's just in the preliminary testing phase. Only some people get it, and it's an open question as to whether or not they'll roll it out for all of Twitter. But let me just tell you, I hate this idea. I hate it. Because what's this going to lead to? Here's what these people want. Media people and politicians want to be able to say whatever they want, sometimes lie, misstate stuff, and then turn off replies and act like, no, there's no dissent to this. It's the fundamental equivalent of like turning off, the likes and dislikes and comment section on a YouTube video. I've never done that. I never would do that. I have a principled objection to that because if you guys don't like something I said and it's a widespread belief, okay, everybody will know. Like, it'll be a segment of me talking and you'll see whatever, 80% dislikes. People go, oh, Kyle definitely got something wrong here, or Kyle definitely said something silly here. And the comments, again, why should I be allowed to say whatever the hell I want? You're not allowed to respond in the comment section. Of course you should be able to respond. I mean, what a ridiculous... Think about how arrogant I'd have to be. No! What I said is the final word and you're not allowed to say anything back. No, I get the final word on everything. It's like, shut up. How fucking self-righteous and dumb do you have to be? But, this is the functional equivalent of that in the Twitter world. Like, okay, just make it so only certain people can reply, or only my followers, so I know are going to be nice to me, or just, I need a safe space! No dissent, no criticism, ever. So it's making Twitter more like your own little insular bubble, no criticism allowed, no self-correction allowed, no ratio to bring justice in most cases. So it's just dumb, and you're going to eventually have a Twitter where it's like, media people and politicians lying nonstop, and corporate accounts screaming out into the wilderness, into the void, just trying to be cool into the void, but really no interaction, and it's a terrible move, man, and I'm mad that they did it. I will say, or that they might do it. They're just in testing phase now, and they rolled it out for some people. I will say, my initial concern about, oh my God, they upped the character limit, I don't like it. Whatever, I'm fine with the character change now because it's still not too much. I think it's possible to get to a point where the tweets get too long and it's like, nobody wants to read your freaking essay here. So I think there is a point where it gets to too much, but I was wrong initially because I don't think it's too much now. I think it's still a fine line. So those changes were not the end of the world. This one, I dislike a lot more than I dislike the character change because it's kind of taking away one of the best aspects of Twitter, which is that it's this radical experiment in free speech and democracy, and like everybody gets to respond. So, okay, you have this big-time celebrity, you have this big-time politician, you have this big-time news anchor who tweets something. Dave in Cleveland is coming after you. And I like to see what Dave in Cleveland said back to you. And in fact, I think Dave in Cleveland is a lot better than you are. So, yeah. This is dumb, and I'm really mad that the elitists... This happens with, like, every freaking awesome platform. Every awesome website, every awesome platform. They're great, then they get too big for their own good and too popular for their own good, and then it gets infiltrated by weirdos, and then also corporations start to take it over, and you got insecure elitists who are like, I think you should change it because I don't like how it makes me feel. Terrible, man. The same thing. Remember when YouTube was even more open and more about the independent creators like us? It wasn't that wonderful. I mean, now, and you guys know because we covered the story, YouTube brags about redirecting independent news and politics back to CNN and Fox News and MSNBC. They brag about that. They brag about, disadvantaging. Disadvantaging? Is that a word? Disadvantaging. They brag about giving this show a massive disadvantage and rigging the rules against this show and others like it. Any independent news and politics is now deprioritized, and the algorithm inevitably pushes more CNN, MSNBC, and Fox News to you because they're authoritative news sources. So, yeah, so you're trying to make YouTube the exact thing it is not. YouTube exists so people can get away from that overly corporate, politically correct world. And then now you're saying, well, we want the advertiser money here at YouTube and Google, so we're just going to make this that. We're going to make it like cable again. They get overly corporate, they get too cautious, and they end up destroying really good things. I hope they don't roll this thing out for Twitter. It's terrible.